when I got into real estate, you don't have really any structure. Like there's no boss, there's no manager saying like you should be doing this today or make sure you do that.
It's a pass-fail industry.
It is
for sure.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
But you do have to create for yourself some structure. Otherwise, like you said, pass-fail, you're going to fail pretty fast.
I got into about 22 years ago, and my training was here's your map and here's your business cards. Go knock on doors and come find me when you have a deal or problem or an issue. Don't get us sued.
Yeah.
So
One,
I'll try.
2, 3.
yeah. So
Pass, fail.
and I was good at 2 of those.
Welcome to the podcast dedicated to real estate, insurance, and building your business. Join us as we take you along our own business building journeys with additional wisdom from our network of local and national experts. Welcome to Bricks and Risk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bricks and Risk. I'm Tim Garrity.
And I'm Sean Mooney.
That was nice.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, we got 2 commercial real estate studs with us today.
Nice.
We have Joe O'Donnell and we have Mike Sweeney. Joe is the president of Omega Commercial Real Estate, and Mike Sweeney is a principal at Omega Commercial Real Estate. How you doing today, boys?
Great, man.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thanks for coming in.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out. So first, a little background on Joe. Joe is a commercial real estate professional with 20 plus years in the business. He has helped many tenant, buyer, landlord, and investor clients over the years and is licensed in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Joe specializes in lease negotiation, tenant representation, buyer representation, project leasing, landlord representation, seller representation, and commercial real estate investments. He's a board member at Chester County Commercial Industrial Investment Council, and he went to Shippensburg University.
I did.
Is that right?
The
ship?
Berg?
You went to the ship?
I did.
The ship?
All right, great. And a little background on Mike as well. So Mike also has 20 plus years of experience in commercial real estate, including thousands of lease negotiations, tenant relocation and renewals, and implementation of C-level multi-state strategic real estate planning. Over his career, Mike has worked for Avison Young, Workspace Property Trust, and Liberty Property Trust. He has been named a CoStar Power Broker for Philadelphia Office Leasing, and he went to Villanova University. Yep. Is that right?
Suspectedly.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Allegedly.
We were just having that conversation. But as Mooney would say, go Cats. All right. So we ask questions when we bring on new guests just to kind of get a sense of some of your history and your thoughts on things. So Joe, you had said to one of our questions that you're a routine guy. How does routine for you help you be successful day in, day out?
So I got some of that from, there's a great book out there, Brokers Who Dominate by
nice.
Rod Massimo. And they followed a set of key brokers across the country over a number of months, and they followed their routines. So I picked a couple of routines I kind of liked from the book, and they went everything from waking up at the same time to having breakfast in the same place, working out at the same time. Regardless or not, if you have a meeting, you have breakfast at the same place kind of thing. So I try and wake up at the same time every day, somewhere around 6. My kids are 17 and 14, so I try and see them off to school. If I don't have morning meetings, I'd like to go down to the basement and get somewhat of a fitness routine in for the first hour. And then, get up and start my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were reading that book on routines, what was the selling point for you? So if you read that and you're like, hey, these successful guys and girls have done these things, what made you say, was it let me just try that and see if it works? Or you're like, no, I already have kind of a routine. Let me tighten it up a little bit.
So I'm a Jocko guy. Discipline equals freedom.
Okay.
So very much into the routine. So it's been a blend of learning over my professional and personal career.
That's awesome.
About just different things with discipline and routine help me stay spiritually, mentally, and physically on top of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. How about you, Mike? What's kind of what are your thoughts on routine? Is that one of your strengths? And if not, tell us why that either works or doesn't work for you.
Yeah, so routine is definitely not one of my strengths.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Just to be candid.
Although I'm a routine guy, he's not.
Yeah.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah, that's what it's all
Right?
about.
Yeah. So I do the same thing. my wife and I, we have 4 boys.
Wow.
Oldest is 14, and we have identical twins that are 11. And then she wanted to try and go for a girl, and we went.
And you got another boy.
So he's 7. So I made a decision to get back into brokerage when I was working for a publicly traded company. Well, that's not entirely true. They sold a portfolio. Some private equity guys came in, and I was looking out 5 years, saying, "Okay, 5 years, I'm going to be an overpaid management type guy.
Yeah.
I want to get back into brokerage and then be there for my kids for assistant coaching, all that type of stuff." So
It's awesome.
the routine's kind of put on me by my children's schedule. Is sort of
They dictate your schedule.
pretty much.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, that's a really good background. Yeah, routine for me too. Like, I feel like, so I was in corporate America for a little less than a decade in the mortgage business before I got into real estate. And I feel like when I worked for corporate America, like, you know, my boss, my superior kind of like dictated my routine, at least like during the day. You know, okay, this is what you got to do as soon as you come in, and make sure we get this project done by the end of the month. Or like, hey, you got to visit some of our new construction sites and make sure the salespeople have mortgage knowledge and feel confident. And I was always like more like you, Joe. I was like, I don't know, like I've always been a morning person. So I feel like for me, morning routine, starting your day for me has never been a problem. Same kind of thing, like trying to eat well, get good sleep, exercise, trying to get too distracted. And when I got into real estate, you know, as you guys can attest, like you don't have really any structure. Like there's no boss, there's no manager saying like you should be doing this today or make sure you do that.
It's a pass-fail industry.
It is
for sure.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
But you do have to create for yourself some structure. Otherwise, like you said, pass fail, you're going to fail pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, I got into about 22 years ago, and my training was, here's your map and here's your business cards. Go knock on doors and come find me when you have a deal or problem or an issue. Don't get us sued.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I'll try. 2, 3.
yeah. So
Pass, fail.
and I was good at 2 of those.
Who did you? So when you started, who did you start with? Who did
So I about 2002, I was transitioning from a family business of import-export international logistics, and when you still read the Inquirer in the paper, I found a commercial real estate firm that was hiring, faxed them my resume, which, you know, got the call. It was a small tenant rep firm right over the bridge in Bala-Cynwyd, and that all they did was office and industrial tenant representation. So great way to cut my teeth there. Mike and I got reintroduced there as well.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I was there for about 4.5 years and left there and went to go work for another brokerage that's more landlord centric. But I had already gotten my broker's license at the time. So I knew I wanted to start my own firm. I just wasn't sure when. So I left the first firm about 2007, stayed with the landlord-centric brokerage firm until about 2009.
Okay.
And started my own firm in 2009.
The perfect market to do it in when everything was.
Well, you're starting at
crap.
zero anyway. Yeah. So why not? Yeah.
Dovetail together.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
What was the mindset about, like, you talk about, you knew you wanted to do this, you had your broker's license, like, what was that decision then to move into it, like that final decision?
The final decision? So,
Yeah.
It's a conversation with my wife, obviously. So we had
the
my
CEO.
Yeah, right. Yeah, treasurer. So
Legal.
Yeah. Yes. And HR. Yeah. So anyway, we had our first daughter and one on the way. So my daughter was 2 at the time, and we were thinking about it. Wasn't making any money in 09 anyway. So my wife and I had a conversation like, you know, if you're not gonna make any money, go make no money for yourself. She does have a nice job at Vanguard.
Okay.
She's been there over 25 years.
Awesome.
So she was good support during that. And so she was very supportive and helped her and kind of incentivized her to say, hey, I am out there doing things. I would have her cash the checks to the bank. Say, hey, I made this deal off this, whatever.
She sees it.
Yeah, right. You got to, yeah. So the smell, touch, and taste of actual deals. So she gets it completely now. We've been married 18 years. So I hope it's 18. Jeez. That's
Damn
much.
Dylan,
Yeah.
You want to do a fact check for us?
Yeah.
Check his wedding records, just so we're positive.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
it might be 19, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, from that, and I said, I'm going to look back. My daughter's 2, and she's going to be 20 in a blink of an eye. She's 17 now, going to be 18. So yeah, just like I planned it. So that was the kickoff.
and then Mike, how does what was that, bringing in a team or bringing Mike in, or what was that? When did that happen?
How'd
And
you guys hook up at Omega?
Yeah, so I didn't have the courage to start my own business, frankly.
Yeah.
But so I met Joe originally. I was working for Hayden Real Estate, which was a boutique firm. I didn't know anything about commercial real estate. I graduated from Villanova, worked briefly at Vanguard, and then I decided, hey, I want to sell the biggest thing I can, which is office buildings. Somehow got a job with those. They graciously gave me a job. I flamed out terribly after like 2.5 years. Worked in the restaurant business, and then decided, okay, I need to get back into commercial real estate. I'm more mature now. I'm going to actually make a go of this. And then that's when I met Joe at that other boutique firm in
Yeah, he was actually just knocking on other commercial real estate firms. The guy who was running our shop at the time was on vacation down the islands. Mike came in like after 5 or 6 o'clock, and we had a couple beers and discussed what he wanted to do. I realized that we knew each other already from prior real estate firm, and we started talking, and we parted ways. I picked up the phone with my boss at the time, said, "Hey, you got to hire this guy. He's a completely different guy than what he was a couple years ago. Let's get him back in." So yeah.
Yeah, but then my plan when I got back in was I was going to work at a small boutique firm, work at a large, like publicly traded commercial real estate firm,
Get that big corporate experience. See what that's like.
and then go work for a developer, and then go start my own company. That was my grand plan.
Yeah.
After Joe and I started working together, and he left, I went to go work for an NAI kind of affiliate out in Wayne. I was there for like 3.5 years. Then when we had the twins, we're pregnant with the twins, I thought, all right, it's a good time for me to go work for a larger company.
Yeah.
So that's what over to a publicly traded brokerage company. So I was with those guys. Then she was pregnant with the twins. I thought, okay, I'm going to go work for the developer. So Liberty Property Trust, amazing company, amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big in Philly.
Yeah, they wound up selling a lot of their office product, and then they Prologis came in and bought them up. But yeah. But so it was a great company. I had an opportunity to go work for this other group, private equity group called Workspace.
Yeah, I've seen
Trust.
Workspace, it's like corporate, like suburban office parks, corporate parks type of thing. I've seen their signs.
And I mean, it's pretty bold, and I think made a lot of sense. They're basically, hey, we're going to focus on areas that have a lot of infrastructure, but also in the suburbs.
Yeah.
land.
And they're pretty aggressive about it, and they're very good to their people. But when I was working there, I thought, okay, I'm just going to, in 5 years, somebody else is going to come in when they refinance or whatever happens, and I want to get back into brokerage and spend more time with my kids as they're growing up.
That's cool.
So during COVID, I was doing very well and didn't really like the corporate structure anymore. And then Joe was like, "Hey, Mike, why don't we come over?"
Like, remember a couple Irish guys from Philly drinking beers, remember? Yeah, why don't you come with me?
So I realized from my experience at Workspace, I didn't want to actually own my own company. I'm better at working on transactions and not so good with the hiring and the back office type
And actually,
stuff.
when we weren't together, we would get together on Fridays and you have a couple beers and talk about industry knowledge and stuff and different deals going on. In the
Just like
market.
network, like like low key.
You know, I was slowly dripping on him for recruitment.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, see where this goes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
So one thing on your website, Joe, that I saw that I thought was interesting. So it said you're listed as like a director of acquisitions and development for self-storage. Is that something you're still doing?
Sure.
today?
Yeah, we are active. It's been tough to find those deals. So a gentleman by the name of Craig Harrison, who I met through some of my Philadelphia presidents, entrepreneur groups and things like that. We met a number of years ago, and he reached out about 6 years ago and said, "Hey, I'm getting into the self-storage industry. He's from a marketing background, doesn't have a real estate background. I'll need help running due diligence as we find deals." So he and I teamed up and formed a company, which I'm part of, called Rising Capital. And we start going to the self-storage shows out in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So once a year, every September. And then a deal came out of that, and we bought a facility down in LaGrange, Georgia, for about $3.5 million, 413 units on 7 acres. So it was expandable, had a couple phases. And the plan was, and we raised the equity, found the debt. Actually, we closed on that in June of 2020, which,
wow.
yeah, I don't recommend anybody trying to do
Right.
debt and equity
In
raise
Georgia.
during COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Not even local.
Yeah. So, but we got it done, and the plan was for a 5-year hold, and we were we cleaned it up, fixed it up, and it started on phase 1, and we're working on phase 2 of expanding and everything else. And about year 2, we just started getting offers, and we sold that within 2.5 years.
Wow.
And made the returns we expected in 5. So
That's great.
investors were happy, everybody's happy, we were happy. Yeah.
So all right, so that's interesting. So it was a client of yours or like someone you knew said, "Hey, I want to invest in storage,
Yeah,
in
correct.
storage facilities." You're the commercial real estate guy, so you're like, "Okay, like let's see if we can locate something and find a good deal."
Yes.
Why storage? Like, why was that interesting to you aside from being interesting to him?
Yeah, so it is one of the hottest sectors in the
Yeah.
commercial space, and as I went up the ladder on knowledge in that sector, which I'd not previously done, kind of baptism by fire with dealing with Craig,
Yeah.
and going to the shows, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like. So I laugh with my apartment buddies, like the guys who just strictly do apartments. I'm like, you think apartments are good? You should see self-storage.
Right.
Somebody doesn't pay the rent, you overlock them, you clean out their locker, auction it off, and you get the leaf blower out.
Right.
We don't even do any of that. I mean,
Yeah.
probably does.
Someone gets the leaf.
Yeah. Somebody gets, and it's ready to rent again. So,
Wow.
and the returns are fantastic. And once the banks, the REITs popped out there, you have CubeSmart, you have the Big Six, and some of the are actually getting bought and they're buying each other. I just found it. So there's a quote. I forget his name right now, but he was once the CEO of Public Storage, and he had said to somebody, he had got into it from I believe it's his wife's ex-boss, right? Said, hey, you got to get into this industry 40 years ago.
Wow.
Now, he's since retired. And he said he got into it, and he told somebody, he's like, oh my gosh, it pukes cash.
Yeah.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
That sounds very old
So
school.
basically, your revenue and your cost, your risk is mitigated because all the lease expirations are spread out over the property.
Well, they're month to month. So you can sign up for a year, but and the average stay. So I don't know. There really are no industry secrets, because when you go to the industry, that's one thing I do like about it. They share all the intelligence about it. So like, for example, the guy who comes to look at a box on Tuesday is going to get a much better price than the guy that comes at Friday at 5 to look at a box.
Yeah.
Because they know he needs. Yeah.
Need it today.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a lot of that, a lot of intelligence, yeah, and so I do like it in that respect. It's a lot of sharing. So I go to the Self Storage Alliance show in September, every September, and they just share like best practices and things along those.
Can I ask you a question? I mean,
Yeah.
so you talk about the conversation back and forth about.
This sounds like something you would like.
I would love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has got
I would
money's name
really
written
love
all
this.
over it. I like people.
I like things that throw up cash, barf cash. But just from like a persona, like having that conversation with the apartment guys or whatever, is it like almost like, I don't want to say look down upon, but like, why would you get involved in storage?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is there like a
Stigma, you must say?
yeah, or is it just a different, like a different vertical that,
No, there's brokers out there, or there's people. That's all they do.
It's not as sexy as building
correct.
apartments or
Yeah.
like mixed use or commercial.
give me the nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have as much with common area maintenance and like the day-to-day interaction with the tenants, right?
Well, so that's the other thing too. The third party property management companies
Oh.
in that space are there's a few that are very apt to take care of all that. So
Soup
yeah.
to nuts.
They
Yeah,
got the game,
yeah.
They got the staff. They got the tech.
like
It's
that's
just-
another trick, right? So it's called the 7-11 rule, right? So you move in, and then on the 7th month you get the bump. On the 11th month you get the bump, and the bumps are just they're enough to make you little angry, but not enough to want you to move out.
Yep.
You know, so they're the increases that they stick to. So kind of thing. It's like, and that's kind of
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, and think about that business too. Like if someone has a lot of stuff that they want to store
yeah.
and they move all this, it's like moving. Moving sucks. It's like one of the worst things, you know, you do as a human being is like move from one house to another or one rental or whatever. And so you figure someone moves, fills one of these things up,
Yeah.
and then eventually at the end of year one, it'll get bumped up again, like you said. So they got to increase in monthly 7 and 11. And then they're just like, I'm not going to move all that crap out of here to save a couple bucks. They're going to do it to me at the next one.
Yeah.
So then it's like, it's smart. And it, like you said, you know, because we do development from like a residential standpoint. So we are developing some apartments right now. We have a building in Kensington, which is commercial spaces, but they're all like small business owners. So most of what I deal with are people. And the people, unfortunately, have emotions. They have stories. They have drama.
Yep.
They have excuses. And as much as you want to obviously help people in real estate, it's still a business. So you have to be careful. Storage to me seems very cut and dry. Like it's easier. So what's the process? Like, let's say someone doesn't pay and they're behind in their, you know, monthly rent. Like I've seen Storage Wars. Has anyone ever seen Storage Wars before? It's like a show on like A&E or something like that.
I know it is.
It's probably made up.
It's actually that, and it's actually caused a lot. They come to the show.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Good for
I've
them.
met those guys. Yeah, and girls. So what's interesting, if you don't pay your rent, there's a process you follow. You get an overlock though, right? You can't overlock an apartment, meaning my lock goes on top of yours, so you can no longer get in your space.
Got you.
So you get an overlock, you get notice, and you go through the process, and it's very streamlined. And now even with the auction process, they have auction companies that will bring cameras and just film, and people from across the country will bid on that box.
Wow. So it's
Yeah.
more like a Zoom model. It's like someone's doing it like a
correct.
FaceTime Zoom
Yeah,
model.
because you can't go in the box anyway.
Wow.
So you're looking at what
Yeah,
you
you're
can
just
see.
looking at the outside. You're like, am I
Yeah.
interested on that? Am I not interested?
Yeah, everybody can see what I'm seeing at local or not, and so now you have a national platform. But if the winner is not local and wins, they do have to clean out the box.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. All right. So
So they pay those guys. You ever see that other show with the trucker? Like,
Ice truckers.
no, it's the one where they're like, "Hey, I got to haul this 30-foot statue from Tennessee to Florida.
Yeah.
Name your price," and then you start bidding like,
I've seen that one.
"I'll haul that thing for like $400. I'll do it for $350."
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like all uncommon freight. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell's that show called?
Yeah, what is that? I
Yeah.
did watch
Got
it.
me.
Uncommon freight.
Yeah.
So did you ask that question about the self-storage because you're thinking like how much demand is there for self-storage?
Twofold. Demand one, like what is the market out there?
Yeah.
Right.
Is it
Like,
oversaturated? Is
because you
it
see
right for
these-
growth?
You see, and I'm very so I recognize them as always going up near like turnpikes
Yeah.
or like
So,
right
yeah.
near an off ramp or like Chemical Road, right? Chemical.
Well, that's the
Road.
real estate that no one wants to live in, too.
So
Yeah.
You know, Dempsey did that Chemical Road one.
Did he?
So that land was
Chris?
sitting there for Jason.
No, Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It was
Jason.
sitting there forever.
Yeah.
And he had the listing on it. And I used to look at that and think like,
who's?
what are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
And then when that went up, I'm like, wow,
It's amazing.
that's brilliant.
Well,
yeah.
So, and a little bit. The other thing I like about the industry, it's a little bit dummy proof, and
Yeah.
things they've made changes. So, two things are right. Storage used to be able to be buried back in an industrial park somewhere.
Yeah.
Now we have a saying: it's got to be front and center. You got to be able to see a Walmart and smell a McDonald's. So
Yeah.
you got to be like right there in the mix of things.
Yeah. And,
And then,
why is that?
because it's the guy that shows up on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to know where to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Street shopping. They're driving around
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh, look, I need that. Let me
They
go in
don't.
there. real
They don't
quick.
want to go look and know.
A lot
try
of
to
people start online. I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to say they don't. And so the other thing is in the burbs, the city's a little denser, but like in the burbs, so you take a 3-mile ring, you take the population, you
Yeah.
times it by 8 square feet.
You know the numbers.
It's so some people use 10, some people use 8, but you times that 8 square feet or 10 square feet per person. That's your start. You minus out all the competitors and competitors coming online, and then you either have a negative number, meaning it's oversupplied, or you have a positive number, meaning there's room for a competitor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
To your point about dealing with people,
Uh-huh.
one of the things that I love about commercial real estate is it's all business owners pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Very
that's
cut
a
and dry.
totally different type of person
It is, yeah.
than like so it makes it easier to.
I deal with like pregnant couples.
Yeah,
That's what I deal with.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like on your side, it's dealing with the person that wants to get to the finish line and does the numbers make sense? Whereas like the other side is on the residential side is like,
It's very emotional.
you're kind of talking yourself out of this place a lot of times, right? But the business owner is like, go find me this place. I need a place. Go find it for me.
Well, the other thing is that when we look at spaces, there's usually nothing there.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
They're usually shell.
Yep.
So we whip out the HP 12C calculator, and they're like, "Well, what's going to be my mortgage, or what's going to be my monthly rent?"
Yep.
And you're like, "Yo, here it is. That's in line with what I was thinking," or "Oh, that's more than what I was thinking." And you're ballparking a lot of back of the napkin stuff to start.
Is it always land, or do they do conversions of like an old warehouse?
Oh yeah, no, they do conversions.
Yeah, they
as
do
well.
that in the city. I've
Yeah,
seen a
yeah.
lot of older industrial buildings. They turn into like a U-Haul self-storage
And
or
my
something
partner
like that.
actually has another division of that he does just strictly conversions. I'm not in on that division of the company, but actually that division's had a hard time finding assets to convert. So we're back to Rising Capital, which is existing self-storage with value add meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Because the zoning comes into play.
Yeah.
Like right now,
Correct.
there'd be a ton of office that you could be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
We could probably get this at a cost basis that makes sense to convert
because the
self-storage.
tenants
And the townships
office.
aren't, they're thinking more like 15-year, 20-year thought process. They're like, hey, we're not changing the zoning.
Right.
Like, this is office will come back.
Yeah.
There are
Time
some
will tell.
townships like that who have been presented with ideas. Some in the suburbs of Philadelphia, we won't name names, but
Yep.
Yeah.
who have said, no, you're not allowed to convert that office building that's vacant, and the owner's paying taxes on it, into something that you think would be higher, better use. We're going to make you wait until the office market comes back. And
Wow.
continue to pay this.
And what is the zoning? Because in my mind, it's like
It was
commercial building. Like what? Why would the zoning be different, or what is that? How are?
Yeah, no, it gets into the minutia of the code of that township. So
Yeah.
and then commercial is not just commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's usually an industrial type zoning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then you think about it, how many industrial type zoning spots are there on Main and Main?
Yeah.
Right. So
True.
that's the tough.
A huge thing that townships are dealing with now, is their zoning codes didn't anticipate warehouse buildings to be a certain height. So like you have to go in for variance, and so anyway.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a good segue.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation, by the way. So, so why did you guys choose the commercial real estate lane? Why didn't you just become realtors like me? I mean, you probably didn't want to torture yourselves, but like what attracted you to commercial versus like residential?
You want to go first?
I was a history major,
Okay.
and I looked at the office buildings like they were farms, and I was like, I want to develop those and own them.
It was more like your interest was in the buildings, like the commercial side. Like that was
Just
what
like
you were more interested in.
to get enough assets that generate income that exceed your costs. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the goal, I think, to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
to retirement. So that was my initial thought process of it. But also, since I was 14, I've worked the weekends, and I was like, I don't want to work on the weekends anymore.
barely work
I
the
just
weekdays.
I just want to do Monday through Friday, which isn't what happened anyway. I kept working on the weekends, but
Yeah.
and I didn't want to deal with the emotions of people like what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
So I got into it by accident. You're usually somebody's nephew's cousin's brother's.
Yep.
There's something,
Yep.
and that's how you get into it. Which Mike had a family member in his that taught him or told him about it, and that's how he.
Yeah, I didn't even know what commercial real estate was. I was working at Vanguard, and I was making $25,000. And one of my uncles like made fun of me at a barbecue. Like, what are you talking about? You went to college and you're only making $25,000. He's like, why don't you?
Great job, great company. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Good
well, that's
benefits? Like,
yeah.
leave
That's
me
what I
alone.
was thinking.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm paying my expenses. This is
You're like, I bagged my lunch.
all my
It
friends
works.
were making 40 grand at the
Yeah.
time coming out of college. But so I didn't even know what it was. And he's like, you could make the same type of money as an attorney without having to go to law school. And I was like, oh, this is an interesting job. What
Tell
is
me
this
more.
about?
Yeah, yeah.
And what year was that?
2001.
Yeah.
So my first day of work was the day before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And I had a listing down in the city, 1760 Market Street. So like very quickly, security. You used to be able to walk into any building down in the city. So I had to figure out ways to like
Remember that?
yeah.
I do.
get into buildings.
Trust in the world.
So there'd be a crowd of people coming back from lunch, and I would just walk in between them all and be like, as you like walk past security, and then I'd get kicked out within like an hour usually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then a lot of cameras went up after 9/11 as well, so you couldn't go. And our job was when you're canvassing or going through a building, start at the top, door to door to door to door, and you see what floor you can make it till.
Yeah.
Before they get
before you get kicked out. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Nice.
and as I run into people or the companies, I'm like, oh, the CEO's, Jim Smith or whoever. They're like, how do you know that? I'm like, I've been kicked out of every building in Montgomery and Chester County. It's my job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it?
I found Duke in the newspaper, faxing my resume, and he.
But I mean, how'd you decide?
Yeah, what was
commercial
your
real
major
estate?
in college,
'Cause you were
Joe?
doing-
What was your...
Maybe he sent 25 resumes to 25 different companies.
Sean was an English major, and he got into insurance, so,
Yeah.
you
That
know.
makes sense.
So, I was very much the marketing major fraternity guy.
That's exactly what I was.
Good 7 years through college.
Right.
And, yeah.
That's 7
Yeah, about 7 years of my life. And so right out of college, 99, I should have graduated in 96. So if that'll tell you something, took a little time off. I worked for a staffing company because I knew somebody who got me in the company. I was there, and I worked there until October of 2001, right after 9/11 as well. Nobody's hiring, everybody's firing. Very tough time. My family, in the meantime, they've had an import-export international logistics business. And so I'm like, you know what? I had good training with the staffing company. Let me go work for the family company. So I did that for about a year, a little over a year. And that's so you bring things in and out of the ports all over the country.
Are these like parents, grandparents, both?
My brother, my father, my uncle, and myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you need what's called a custom house broker's license to clear that stuff through the country, through the different ports in the country. And my uncle had that license, and he was older, sickly. So we were going to do it until he passed away. So he passed away, and my dad said to my brother and I, like, somebody has to get their custom house broker's license, or feel free to do something else if you want to try something else. So my brother actually stayed with it, and he did get his custom broker's house license. And that's when I started going through the Inquire to find a job. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. This is Tim, your favorite Bricks and Risk co-host. But don't tell Sean. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'll get right back to it in a moment. Our audience grows through word of mouth, so if you would please take a moment of your time and give us a review on the platform you're on, that would be fantastic. Please also help spread the B&R word by sharing your favorite episode with a friend. We greatly appreciate your time and trust. Now, back to the show. All right, so let's talk about like the NAR lawsuit, because I feel like this shifts into like commercial real estate, in my opinion. So, are you familiar with the NAR lawsuit and kind of what happened, or like the crux of it?
Somewhat on the residential side. So I am a member of Tri-State Suburban Realtors and the Commercial Realtors Association up there. And I joined just maybe a couple years ago, and it's been an extremely helpful organization.
Yeah.
And they actually have a free legal helpline that
the PAR.
Yeah, I've called it once so far, and it was about commissions and agreements and things like that. So,
Nice.
Which it seems like it falls very much more so on the residential side.
much
from my
residential.
Yeah.
So basically, like the crux of it was, you have your local MLSs in every market across the country, and if Sean wants to sell his house, and I put his house on the local MLS, which is called Bright MLS in the Philadelphia market, I put it on Bright. Before the NAR lawsuit, you would also advertise whatever commission you would pay to a buyer broker. So if I list this house for sale and another agent has a buyer and they schedule a showing, then they know what they're getting paid. So that was kind of like the vehicle for like doing that. And I know this is different than commercial. So that was how we were structured ever since I've been in. It's probably been that way for a good, 40 years or so. And the NAR lawsuit said that was unfair because they thought they were forcing sellers to pay buyer broker commissions because of the rules of the MLS. Like, I have to put this out there. We're like, who says I want to pay someone? So
Can you put 0?
technically you could put $1. But still, I think what it was is it was a money grab by attorneys. They wanted to make a lot of money. They found a loophole. They called it monopolistic, and they won. So that's really changed our rules. But I feel like our rules are starting to be a little bit more like commercial. Whereas, like, if Sean wants to go buy a home, let's say, and I schedule a showing, now I have to contact every listing agent before I go and say, hey, is your seller offering a buyer broker commission? Just so I know. So I know if he has to pay my commission or if they're willing to pay my commission if we do a transaction.
So is that not listed on MLS?
No, you can't list on the MLS.
You're not allowed.
You have to contact every person to understand the situation. So in the commercial world, like let's say you're representing a buyer client and you find a listed property like in CoStar.
Yeah.
How is that process? How do you figure out commissions in your world? Is it already listed there or do you have to communicate?
So we follow Pennsylvania rules, which are you're not supposed to talk about commissions because it's collusion or something. I don't know exactly.
Sure.
I think every situation is different. So, and every market's different. So, like Philadelphia, probably what I've seen, the structure is different than what the suburbs would be.
Okay.
And it all depends on the landlord. My understanding from sort of the history of commercial real estate in the general Philadelphia market was a lot of things were paid as collected until CBRE or Trammell Crow, I'm not sure which one, kind of pushed the idea of, hey, if you pay a discount on the commission, so, you know, use a discount rate, whatever it is, but say the first year, just for conversation purpose, say the first year is 5%.
He's talking about a sale, not a lease.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it depends if it's a lease or sale.
Yeah, leasing's like a whole different app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but on CoStar, LoopNet,
Yeah.
which owns LoopNet Apartments, Homes.com, which is another story for
Yeah,
another day. But and then like Crexy, we have. I think Crexy has it, but the other ones they don't have a spot to list for commissions anyway.
Gotcha.
So you're picking up the phone.
Yeah, you're contacting every agent.
Like, what's the deal with this building? And one of the last questions or first questions, what depending if you're casual or not. It's like, what's the fee with this building?
Yeah, what are you paying me?
Yeah.
They're like, nothing. Next question.
Yeah. Which, you know, on the investment side, sometimes there's shopping centers or large investment properties that are like, hey, listen, there's no buyer side commission on this. And we have to tell that to our buyer, and then we figure out how we're going to get paid.
How common would you say on the sales side and commercial that your buyer client pays your commission versus a seller?
Oh, rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So it's like even in that world,
It depends on how sophisticated everybody is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And without getting into too many names, I worked for a very small boutique company for three and a half years. I switched and went to a publicly traded commercial real estate company, and it went from me thinking, "Hey, we're winning the Olympics every year," to like, "Oh, we're not even in the Olympics." Like that is just the amount.
I didn't even make the trials.
Yeah, just the amount of information that's
The
out
wrong
there.
sound.
Right.
So I went to go work for this company and realized there was a building that was for sale, which I had no idea was for sale. But now that there was a capital markets team, and I'm like, oh, I know who would buy that. So I call a very well-known landlord, and I'm like, hey guys, I know you're looking to buy buildings. This building's for sale. And they're like, oh yeah, we want to see that. Like, we'll go take a look at that like Tuesday at 2:00.
Yeah.
I'm making up that. Okay, great. I call the guy in my office like, hey, this buyer wants to see this at 2:00 on Tuesday. He's like, no, he doesn't. He's one of my best friends. Like, he's not gonna. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, right.
I have listings with these guys.
Funny.
They want to buy. Yeah, they want to buy us. And he's like, hey, we're not paying you a commission. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you're not paying? Like, we all work for the same broker. And he's like, no, that's not the way it works. They have to pay you. The buyer's going to have to pay you.
Right.
They were trying to sell it to another major landlord who has since just sold it. But anyway, all I did was drive up the price for the other landlord.
Right. Yeah.
Because the seller, the broker already had.
You were a pawn in the bidding process.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't know who I'm selling this to.
Yeah.
And
The deal's done, but
I didn't understand how that worked. So I'm just like being aggressive and like basically wasting people's time without knowing that.
Isn't it
especially
funny how
when-
you get used and abused in this business? Especially, I mean, obviously when you're new.
Yeah.
You know, you're new. You're like, I don't know anything.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no one's telling me jack. You know, I'm just going out and figuring it out, and making calls and learning as I go.
Well, you learn, right? People are just shopping, or hey, if you need me for numbers or something like that, let me know. Like, hey, this guy, especially in the leasing world, people go out and test the market and like, oh, am I getting a good deal here? Should I go
Right.
over there? And you go out and you test the market, and it's like, okay, well, you're getting a good deal, whatever, kind of thing.
it's funny you talk about it too. There was a building that I was looking at trying to buy, a commercial building for my office, and
The one a couple of years ago. Or was
It might have been like a year ago.
yeah.
And the commercial realtor puts the big old sign out front, and I'm like trying to find it online, and I'm like,
Can't find
I can't find anything. I looked. I'm pretty.
Oh yeah, well,
pretty good at looking,
I know how you look.
and nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to call this guy.
Yeah.
And it was like, a commercial
Yeah.
realtor, and
And don't you love how commercial realtors are so polite to residential realtors?
If they call you back at all. Yeah.
well, no, it was
Oh, yeah,
it was
call back.
it was
I want to talk.
it was
I'll spend their
several
commission.
several voicemails,
Yeah.
and it was like, it was almost like he didn't want me to buy didn't want to even sell the property.
Well, here's what's interesting. So,
I'm like, don't like,
It's the Bernie Madoff, right? It's like, we don't need your money. Like,
yeah,
I wanted that much more.
yeah, yeah. No, like seriously.
Yeah.
like, I think, me personally, I think one of the problems with residential real estate realtors, like the National Association of Realtors, they want members. Like, they want as many members as they can. Low barrier entry to get in, get your license. I mean, we all go through the same classes. Like, if you're in Pennsylvania, you get a real estate license. I could do commercial, I could do industrial, I could do leasing, I could do residential.
Sell cemetery plots.
Yeah, you could sell cemetery plots. Now you can wholesale. Like, you can do all sorts of stuff with the different licensing. And
Wait, you need a license for that?
Cemetery.
well,
Yeah.
No.
a whole,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's land.
Yeah, man.
That's
That
great.
that one I feel like you should because people are the most vulnerable.
Oh god.
When somebody died.
I mean, you put it that
I don't know
way,
anything
yeah.
about the business.
dude.
My house treasurer said I'm being ashes, so we're good.
It'll be cheap. So where I was going with that is that recently at the peak, so let's call it like 2022, when residential real estate's like on fire, like one of the busiest years ever. There were like 1.6 million realtors nationally.
Oh yeah.
And there was like somewhere around like, I think it was close to like 6 million sales. Now the number hasn't gone down that much from what I understand. Maybe someone could tell me different, but maybe it's around like 1.5, like, 1,450, somewhere around there.
Right.
And last year, the sales were like right around 4 million. So once you think about it, all those licensees are like, you can only on average sell like 2 to 3 homes each, which is nothing. You can't make a living off of that.
Right.
I actually think now that the lawsuit has happened and NAR got whacked back a little bit, I think a lot more people will get out of being a part-time realtor, which, I don't wish that on anyone, especially if they had a dream to be a real estate agent, they pay for their classes, they want it to happen. But I think what's happening now is that the people who are really good at residential real estate, like probably similar to commercial, like if you're really good, you're going to get clients, and whether the seller pays you or not, your buyer client will pay you if you're good at what you do and you provide value.
Yep.
Whereas like in residential, because it was always advertised on the MLS, you could be the worst realtor in the world, bring in your cousin, not do any work, and still get paid 2 to 3% on the deal. And you're like, oh, I'm going to go do that again.
Yeah.
So it almost kind of gave realtors a bad name because you could be inexperienced and make decent amount of money if you just like fell into business. Whereas in commercial, what I have witnessed is that if you're not good at what you do, you don't have clients. Like
Right.
you're not going to get listings. You're not going to get buyer clients because if a seller's not going to compensate you, then you're like, hey, like, I don't want to work with you. I'll just go find someone else.
Yeah.
Or I'll go to the seller direct. I'll go to the listing broker directly.
Yeah. And get their lunch eaten.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know that as well as I know that.
Oh, I have so many stories that I like working on the landlord side.
Yeah.
I think 40% of more than that, of my transactions were direct deals with companies. And half the time I wanted to be like, you really need a broker. Like you are getting raked over the coals right now.
Yep.
You have no idea. Like just the simple way, like the landlord measures the space in commercial, like they call it rentable square feet. You can do it via BOMA measurements, which is like Building Owner Management Association. So it's like, are we measuring the outside of the wall? Are we measuring the inside of the wall?
Right, from the middle.
There are landlords who are
Because
just
everything's
like,
priced per square foot in commercial.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
renting or buying.
yeah. But there are landlords who will be like, just grow their building like 25%. Like, I'm not kidding. And so I went in and saw this nonprofit and they're like, oh, we're paying 3,000 square feet. I'm like, guys, you have 1,200 square feet. Like, what are
Oh
you
my
talking about?
God.
3,000 square feet. Yeah.
Wow.
So
crazy.
it's, you definitely need a broker.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
go ahead.
But Mike and I live by this mantra that we're not actually in the real estate business. We're in the information business,
Yeah.
right? And we're professional negotiators. So the information he's providing is like, hey, your landlord's lying to you,
Right.
or
yeah.
it's wrong. It's measured incorrectly. Maybe he's not lying. Maybe it's measured incorrectly. Whatever. But yeah.
Well, it's
Tomato.
But the information, not to interrupt you, but when I bought my house, I used a residential real estate agent.
Yeah.
And she told me, hey, the couple who owned this house, the husband was a scientist from Merck who got transferred down to North Carolina, and Merck is taking over the property. I'm like, really? So we offered half of the asking price. She didn't want to do it. I'm like, hey, here's my offer. Like, you have to submit it. So then they're like, I'm like, all right, we'll raise it $3,000. And she's like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, I could do this 17 times. This is a corporation, not like people.
Yeah.
And we got an amazing deal that I should have paid her like 15%.
Right.
And I still would have made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Just because of the information that she gave us.
Yeah.
Oh, that one little tidbit. Had you had not known that, your number would have been way off.
Yeah.
I mean, it again, like I think a lot of people were scared of the NAR stuff because they're like, we're going to be like the commercial real estate world where, the listing agents want to double pop deals and they want to do dual agency. And you guys know as well as I do, like dual agency will happen for the right person who understands what dual agency is and wants to do the deal that way. They're like, fine, And then the agent's like, oh, hey, seller, I'll make a little less because I'm helping out the buyer as well. I'm going to be neutral to both of you. You guys both know what you're doing. We're just going to get it done. But for the people who don't know what they're doing, you buying a house and trying to figure out how all that works, or someone buying a building through one of you guys, a commercial building, like they need your skills. They need your expertise, your information, like you said. And you're looking out for them.
If you're like, we've talked about it on this show 100 times.
Yeah.
Like, work with a trusted advisor. And I don't care if it's residential, I don't care if it's commercial, insurance, like, you know how many people like come to me and think they have the best thing going because they bought this thing online and and then I get it and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like you need help.
You need to talk to
get the paddles out,
more than one advisor to get a sense of like, hey, so like, you know what?
Yeah, because you don't know if this trusted advisor is ripping me off.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe, I don't know if you can get into the names, but there was that professional athlete that was looking at doing a.
I cannot.
Yeah.
But so somebody referred to me, a residential guy had called me up and said, hey, listen, I have a Philadelphia sports contact who they made a lot of money. They retired. They threw money into this restaurant down the city.
Yep.
Can you look at their lease? Right. Mm-hmm. And he got referred in. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I look at the lease. I'm like, everything's signed though, but it's not signed by him. It's signed by what I find out to be his ex-partner.
Oh.
Yeah. So now the landlord.
So he was part of a partnership and the other partner
had signed and they're no longer together.
Yep.
And
it's null and void, right? If the
so it's an entity thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So So a CEO signs stuff all the time. CEOs get replaced, so the company's still on the hook, right?
Yep.
So so anyway, we worked through it, and he did get out of the lease and found another location. But the landlord was trying to stick it to him. But it was one of those things like, hey, here's a Philadelphia sports hero that had a lot of money. Let me just throw something. His investors from California found a local Philadelphia place he wanted to invest in. I'm like, well, who's the attorney? Oh, they didn't have one. It's like, okay, well, an attorney should review the lease. Yeah. I spell out the business terms that go into the lease. I make sure the terms are correct, and then the attorney. And which 22 years, I can mark up a lease probably about just because an attorney. Yeah. And then they mark it up and they agree upon that. Well, there were negotiations on that. It was just signed.
To your point about like, it's like the 80-20 rule, 28, I think it's Pareto principle, but it's like 20% of the people are doing 80% of the business.
Yes. Exactly.
So there's a very simple, like if you have free rent in a commercial deal, and then when do the annual increases kick in? Like everything's negotiable, right?
Yeah.
But what happens all the time is people will present business terms, and then when the lease is done, the business terms that they think that they're getting and the lease do not match up.
Yep.
And so like one of the easiest ways on the landlord side is like, say you're doing a 10-year transaction and you give people 6 months free rent, right? So, but you have the annual increases start in month 13 in the lease, and the advisor is modeling it like, hey, you have 6 months free rent, then you have the bump in month 18.
Right. We're gonna get
Makes
all
a
that back.
big difference over 10. I mean, a lot of these companies, maybe it doesn't make a big difference to them, but like you do that enough times, it's just little things like that's why I think you need some, like the attorneys are great.
Yeah. I don't always fight on that one. It depends, right? And depends how much the landlord's spending and at different terms. But yeah, he and I go back and forth on that one a little bit. So, because free rent gets tied onto the back. And again, we can get into lease.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter. It's just like almost to a sense like a marketing ploy. Like, how are you presenting this? And it's, you know, the landlord, if presented the right way, can win when you think you're winning. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it's really.
With nobody telling you in between
Exactly.
your advisor, hey, this is a win.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, yeah. So that's a great point. Like sometimes your clients need to be told, like, "Hey, this is a good deal."
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
you, this is the part where you say, "Okay, let's go forward." But
Yeah.
And then landlords at the same time too. I had a listing where it came down to he wanted to meet face to face every time. Every time that we had a deal, I was like, "Listen, we can do it on the phone." I was like, no, I want to meet face to face. And it was a deal. It was a sweetheart deal, and he was still like, "I don't know if I want to do this deal." I'm like, "We'll meet." I go, "Somebody's getting the keys today.
Right.
Either I'm giving them back to you, or the tenant's going to get the keys.
Nice.
Because if you can't make this deal, you can't make any deal." And he was like, "Okay." Like then he got it. He's like, "I don't want this back. Like, let's make this deal."
Right.
Like, yeah. But it's one of those they need to be staring in the face that it's a good deal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. One of the questions we ask is like, what do you love most about what you do? And Joe, you had said helping the inexperienced navigate the commercial real estate world, which is kind of like what we're talking about
Yeah.
now.
Correct. Yeah.
So to me, that screams like, you know, you're into educating people. Like if someone's brand new, whether they're leasing or buying, it doesn't matter. Like your job is to help educate them on the process. Like here are the steps. Once we find out that you like it, then we're going to get into some terms. And that's where someone like you guys would shine through. It's like, my job is to look at the terms and find the terms that work best for you based on what I know is normal within this market because I've done this hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And then if you can do that, like you're really going to give that person who's never done a commercial lease or a commercial sale before, like a leg up. Because if they go right to the listing agent, whether it's a sale or a rental, like that person's going to represent the owner. They're going to have more of a relationship with the owner. Plus, now they're making more money by representing the buyer or the tenant. So they want to get the deal done. And there's plenty of people who find a way to be neutral and let both sides kind of just figure it out and like pass messages along back and forth. And there's other people that are like, no, it's fine. And then it gets to the very end. They're like, yeah, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you want to do this thing or not? And I feel like that's when people who don't know what they're doing really get themselves into a tough spot. So why has working with, I'm assuming like more like first timers, inexperienced people, why has that always like been something you'd love to do?
Yeah. So what I've dealt with a lot in my career is the business owner who's tired of renting and wants to go buy their building on the sales side, right? So, hey, I've never bought a building. If I bought this building 15, 20 years ago when I started my business, I'd own it by now. One of those, but you didn't have any money. Yeah. So, but again, so it's that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think I get that from my family and my parents from that, like, hey, make sure you take care of the little guy, right? And looking out for the little guy and the small guy. And so with that, I walk him through the process. And I think back to the old dentist adage where, hey, if you walked into the dentist's office and he threw you right in the chair and started drilling on your teeth, and you're like, well, wait. He's like, no, I read your chart. I know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like your anxiety's through the roof.
Exactly.
Where if he sits you in the chair, explains to you what he's going to do, then I'm going to Novocaine your tooth, then I'm going to clean it a little, then I'm going to start working on it. It's going to take this long, and then this is going to happen next, and then we're going to walk you out. The anxiety goes way down.
Yeah, it's
right?
setting expectations.
Nobody wants to guess what happens next, right? So with that, I deal with a lot of, as you said, a lot of first timers. So I walk them through what happens next, and they find peace and comfort in that all the time because negotiations are a fluid process.
Yep. Awesome. Also, a question we ask is like biggest struggle, because again, it's nice to talk about the positives of our business, but sometimes it's good to talk about what you have a hard time with. So your biggest struggle you put down was finding quality people to expand our team. And Mike, how long have you been with Omega now? How long has it been?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Okay. So why has finding the Mikes of the world, let's say, been a struggle for you?
Yeah. I'll touch on that, and then if you want to expand on it. So, our industry overall, we just have a rule of thumb: you don't make any money for about 3 years.
Yep.
You don't make any real money for about 5 years, and then if you're in it over 7 years, you're in it for life.
Right.
And
'Cause
so,
you'll do well.
yeah, right. So, I don't want to say kids today because it makes you sound old, but people who are not from the industry or industry commission already are not familiar. Well, wait, my buddy just got a job at Comcast for, I used to say 90. I think it's now 120 or whatever it is, right? So why do I want to get my teeth kicked in for the first 3 years? Oh, and by the way, caddying or bar backing or bartending, those first 3 years, it's not frowned upon in our industry. It's absolutely like, that's a second job. Like
Right.
this. But I went to Villanova or I went to college. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to have two
I
jobs.
should
Yeah,
have.
Yeah.
I should be doing something better.
Yeah. So
Making more money.
a lot of pride, I think, gets in a
Yeah,
lot of people's
absolutely.
ways, and it's a hard job, right? You do absolutely for the first 12 months get told, pardon my French, you get told to fuck off, you get hung up on, get doors slammed in your face.
Yep.
If you're out doing what you're supposed to be doing, actually, I'm actually doing a good job.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does the badge?
Right.
Yeah. And then you go cry in your pillow at night.
Right.
Get back and do it all over again. So.
You know what's funny? It's like, again, I'm going to make the correlation between, residential real estate and commercial. Residential, like one of the first things I did when I got in, because I got in when I was 30, I got laid off. And I'm like, I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to figure this thing out. Like, I'm going to understand how it works. So one of the first things I did right away that I kind of just fell into were rentals in residential real estate. And a lot of it was tenant representation. So like, it'd be like people would find my information online, my blog, a newsletter. Can you help me go rent an apartment? I'm like, sure. They're like, well, how do you get paid? I'm like, well, if I show you listed properties, again, the MLS, and it works out, the owner or landlord is going to pay me my commission. So it's kind of like a service to you, like pro bono, if you want to call it. You're just looking for help. I mean, you can go to the landlord, the listing agent yourself if you want, but now they're doing both.
Right.
And I will say, like, it does, even in residential, it's a 2 to 3 year process before you start making like somewhat of a living wage for the high majority of people who get into real estate. There's some people who just kill it right off the bat for whatever reason, but that is like the very rare success story. And I think you saying that, like, hey, it takes you 3 years to start making some money. It takes you 5 years to start feeling like, okay, like I feel like I'm on the right track. And then 7 years, you're like, why would I ever do anything else? Because I've put in that 7 years to get to where I am right now. And now you can kind of throw most things at me and I know the answer, or I know how to help you, or I know the right attorney, or I know the right other building to take you through because this one didn't work out. Like, you just know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're in the right mind frame.
Exactly.
So when I started, people would say, hey, it's not about money, it's about helping people. And I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this
This
clearly
isn't a nonprofit.
about money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got in the mindset of like, hey, it's about helping people.
Right.
That's when I started to make money.
Exactly.
So it's like, doesn't matter what. I used to walk into spaces and would run out of breath because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And took me a while. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I need to make a living. Like, what am I doing here? And I realized I was just confusing the receptionist, because receptionists, this gross generalization, but they are either good at their job or they're not. If they're good at their job, it's because they like to help people.
Yeah.
So if you just
wanna be
go in and smile and ask for help,
Yep.
generally that's a way more successful approach than like bombarding them with information.
And
But
they don't know who you are.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
And then when you get in the right mind frame, you're like, okay, I and it's actually fun. Like,
It is, yeah.
oh, this is a new challenge today. I haven't seen that before. Like, this is like getting in a warehouse building. Most people try and go in the front door and there's like bulletproof glass, doors are locked. If you go right in the warehouse door, like, you're going to make contact immediately with usually it's whoever's running the operations back there. Like, what the hell are you doing in my space? But
Right.
Well, they have a direct line to the you know what I mean? Then they're like, oh yeah, you want to talk to Jim,
Right.
right? So it's strategic in a way.
yeah.
Kill them with kindness. But that's awesome. I mean, that's really like the big crux of this podcast that we've learned over. We were just talking about it. We just released our 60th today, which is hard to believe. Is relationships. Like, you build good relationships in any kind of real estate that you do or in insurance, and people will appreciate that. So they're going to go tell their friends and their family members and their neighbors and their coworkers, work with Joe, work with Mike, work with Sean, work with Tim. And all you're doing is trying to be helpful. Like you're just trying to get people where they want to go. If you're like, how do I find a way to get this done? Because I know I'll get paid in a couple months. And then if I get paid in a couple months, then I won't have to worry as much. If you're chasing the dollar and the transaction, most of the time it's going to blow up in your face. Like people can sense that. And technically it's not the right thing to do. They're coming to you for help, not so you can, they don't care if you get paid. They're like, I need to buy something or rent something.
Yeah.
That's the Bob Berg, quote when he talks about making about it, finding a victory for your client rather than how much you're going to make off the deal. So if your focus then becomes on, all right, how do I win this for my client? Everything changes.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's helped me as well, I would say more so in the sales aspect is my Christmas isn't going to be made or broken off one deal. So I walk in and it's very like, I don't need your business. And I don't want to call it the Bernie Madoff, but it's like, I've seen desperate salespeople try and sell me and it reeks, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I come off more nonchalant, like, hey, we're either going to do business or we're not. And like, you may not be a fit for me, actually. You're qualifying for me.
Your time is valuable as well.
For you. Yeah. So that's helped. And then that puts them at ease because they realize, right, hey, maybe he doesn't. He must be good at what he does.
We talked about it. I have my disqualification process.
Yeah.
Right? Someone comes to me. I'm like, well.
He's like, how do I not
tell
work
me
with
more
you?
about yourself.
Yeah. And then if you want to come to my office, I lock my deadbolt so you can't get in.
And it does.
This is all true.
It's not everyone, but there are a certain amount of people that are like, oh, like, no one else asked me that. Like, nobody else made me do this.
He like gets in the blinds and just opens. He's like, who is it?
You have the password?
One time I had the scientist.
Like swordfish. All right, cool. You're in.
His requirement was he liked to bicycle. And he didn't want to, he needed to be close to his house so he could bicycle to his warehouse. And I'm like, dude, why don't you just buy a used car? Right. Like the amount of money I'm saving you on this other spot.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. I like to bike.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I finally found him the spot. And he's like, well, I don't know what's above that ceiling. It was a drop ceiling. He's like, I don't know what's above that ceiling. There could be an aircraft carrier up there. And I'm like, this guy's killing me.
Right.
Like,
that's great.
Your whole priority was the bike. I got you.
Yeah.
You're like, peek up. You're like, oh my gosh, it is an aircraft carrier. We're right. I'll see you later.
Then drop ceilings. I had another time. These guys were investing $100 million into a specific project. They go out to Malvern and they're like, oh, those ceilings aren't 20 feet. I'm like, that's a drop ceiling. We're in the lobby. Are you guys just kidding me? Their only job really was to like go make sure that the buildings existed. Actually, so like it wasn't swampland in Florida. But I'm like, are you kidding me?
$100 million deal. Hey, tell me more about these ceilings.
Side of the deal here.
Yeah.
Another question we asked. Sean and I are quote guys, so we asked for a quote. And Joe, you had said, be persistent, consistent, and insistent. Is that something that you just say, or is that something that you heard somewhere?
No, that's something I think I thought of it. I may have heard it somewhere, but I've been living by that as well. So I've seen all different kinds of people in this business be successful, whether your personality or not, right? But if you're persistent, consistent, and insistent. So persistent, right? You're doing the same thing. You're doing all the right things every day, right? And then somebody says follow with you at this time, that time. You're consistent on those follow-ups. Right. And then and insistent, I say, well, I insist we meet then. Like, all right. So then I insist on it. So, or I insist we grab lunch, right? I insist we.
That's confidence.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, and it's easy to remember. So.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, so before we shut this one down, guys, really appreciate your time today. It was an awesome conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Why don't you both tell our listeners and watchers where they can learn more about you and everything you got going on?
Yeah, sure. Our website's omegare.com. My cell is 484-354-2162, and I'm Joe O'Donnell, president and founder of Omega Commercial Real Estate. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Mike, where are we going to find you?
Yeah, Mike.
You find me at the same place.
Same spot?
Yeah. I'm trying to think some other things.
Are you a social media guy?
Not too much.
No,
LinkedIn a little bit. I don't use LinkedIn the
guys.
correct way. I use it for my own entertainment. But
but yeah, we are on LinkedIn, somewhat Instagram. Actually, we're tweaking our marketing right now to try and divulge just that conversation of personal and professional.
Yeah.
And I've bled into putting professional and personal.
Yeah.
So especially on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah.
But we do have a Facebook page, it's somewhat used. We do have a blog that we can drop as well in the comments that we try to keep up with industry news, who's leased what, who's bought what
awesome.
price, what's going on nationally. It's videos, it's articles, it's a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We can link that up once we put this one out.
Sure.
Definitely.
Get people over there.
Cool. Well, that's all we have for this one, folks. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of Bricks and Risk. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bricks and Risk. Our goal is that you walk away with 1 or 2 valuable nuggets, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us today. You can find all B&R episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.